MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Monday, November 10th, 2025. Today, House Democrats want to interview the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, about the Epstein files. Elon Musk is getting $1 trillion Tesla pay package. Trump has pardoned the former Tennessee House Speaker and his aide. A judge issues a permanent injunction against the Department of Education for usurping furloughed employee email accounts. Todd Blanche declares war against the federal judiciary. A magistrate judge is planning to visit the Broadview ICE facility amid a lawsuit over conditions there. Judge Ellis has issued a preliminary injunction against Greg Bovino and federal agents in Chicago for use of force. Another judge has issued a permanent injunction against Hegseth's deployment of the National Guard in Oregon. Senate Democrats box Republicans into voting no on funding the ACA. And California Republicans are suing over Prop 50. And the very red Aurora City Council in Colorado has flipped blue. I'm Allison Gill.
And I'm Data Goldberg.
Oh, happy Monday. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh, thank you. It is good to be back. Thanks for covering me. Doing the work.
Yeah, you are traveling and flying and traveling like on a daily basis. And I was thinking back to, because you and I were talking offline a little bit about how exhausting those schedules can be. And I was thinking back to after the debate.
Yeah.
Last June, remember how Biden went to 9 cities in 8 days for 18 appearances?
Yeah, and then they took him to a debate. If you hear it in my voice, I'm exhausted. Last week was exhausting. I had gigs in 3 different states in 5 days and 4 planes, and I'm just wiped. But the gig in New York was phenomenal. It was for Cal and Lord, and this is a LGBTQ health organization that takes care of, the community in the state of New York, but it's in Manhattan. What's phenomenal about this organization, and I'm so proud to work for it, the Trump administration went to the CEO and said, either you refuse gender affirming care to youth or we're taking away your federal funding. And the guy told him, you can shove it up your ass, basically. Not in so many words, but he said, we're not turning our back on our patients. And they took all their federal funding. So they lost about $1 million in federal funding. And then at the gala, I, during my part, raised about $185,000 for them. And in total, they raised about $940,000 that night. And people are fired up. And to stand with organizations that are really standing up against this administration just makes me very proud. So I had a great night at work that night with some phenomenal nominees. Dimitri, Dr. Disco for the CDC. Yeah. He resigned over the CDC guidelines that he just didn't agree with. And he took a stance. They honored him. And then a couple of incredible, beautiful trans women, models and actresses. And it was just a wonderful night full of, I feel like I realize now, like I'm rambling, like I'm talking to you off of the recording, like just telling you about my day. I'm delirious, everyone. It was a good event. Let's keep it moving.
Wow. They raised they got all the money that the feds pulled back.
I'm sure they cut even more from them, but yeah, it was a good night to recoup a lot of that. So I'm just proud to be part of the work.
How wonderful that we're taking care of each other until we can, get this White House back and get that federal funding back on track.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully, when we win the House, maybe we win the Senate. Like after Tuesday, people are like, I think maybe the Senate could be in play as well,
I want to stay hopeful. I'm so happy that those midterms, they're coming in a year, but that special election, I think, showed people that, like, if we get out and vote in these numbers, we can actually flip. I mean, we're going to talk about one of those today. Like deep red areas that have been deep red are now blue.
Yeah.
Not even purple. They're blue.
They're blue now, and progressive blue. A little bit later in the show today, I'm going to be talking to Sarah Weinman. She's got a new book out called Without Consent, and it's about the 1978 case, the flagship case on marital rape. And, back then it was thought that, wives were just the property of their husbands and you couldn't possibly rape a spouse because they were your property. So that was the very first case that kicked off a 50-state, domino effect that went through the 90s. And she did incredible research for this book. Again, it's called Without Consent. It comes out tomorrow. We're going to talk to her later in the show. Also, there's a new episode of The Breakdown I actually spoke to some FBI and DOJ personnel who reached out to me, who remain anonymous, obviously, for obvious reasons, but that were part of the Epstein file review. And so we talk about that on yesterday's breakdown on Midas. You can find that link, by the way, at MullerSheWrote.com in my Substack. And there'll be a link in the show notes.
I
too.
love that. I love that when people are listening, they know that this isn't just you, just, sort of like, maybe this happened. You're talking to sources that review these files. And so when you hear these things and Allison does these podcasts, you know that what you're hearing is actually reliable information. And I love that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. I like to make those, those big headlines they kind of do over on YouTube where they're like, exposed.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. I like to back that up with actual.
Yeah.
And they do that on Midas. Also, there's a new episode of Unjustified out with me and Andy McCabe. And everybody, thanks for all your feedback to our patrons on the new video pod, which will be launching December 1st. We're doing the beta test with our patrons right now. So far, we've taken so much of your feedback. We've changed up the Chiron, some of the colors. We've made some lighting changes. We're going to add a little bit of animation, I think, and some ending animated credits like the breakdown has. We're going to make some tinfoil hats, all based on your incredible feedback. So to become a patron and give feedback on this, and then eventually when the show comes out, you'll get it ad-free and early, and you get this show ad-free and early, and you get Unjustified ad-free and early. You can go to patreon.com/thedailybeans and sign up to become a patron. And we have a link in the video pod notes where you can give us your feedback. Thank you so much for it. All right, we have so much news to get to today, Dana, but first we have some quick hits.
And to make a long story short, too late.
All right, lots of news. Let's start with Ketanji Brown Jackson and everybody kind of freaking out for a minute when she put a temporary pause on SNAP benefits. But then we kind of read what very smart people about the Supreme Court like Steve Vladeck had to say, and turns out she did it for a good reason. So Trump was ordered by a Rhode Island judge named McConnell to pay the SNAP benefits for November. And Trump appealed that to the First Circuit because he hates feeding people. And they said, no, we're not going to listen to this case. We're not going to give you a stay while we decide the merits. And so they didn't overturn McConnell's order. So then Donald Trump was like, but I really hate when people get to eat food. So he appealed to the Supreme Court. Now, Ketanji Brown Jackson is the administrative justice for the First Circuit. Each circuit has their own administrative judge, which is a justice on the Supreme Court. So she gets to make this decision on her own if she wants to. And she chose to do a quick administrative temporary pause on SNAP benefits on the Rhode Island judge's order and told the First Circuit Court of Appeals to decide on the merits quickly. Now, had she not issued that temporary stay, her 6 a-hole associates would have taken it and granted a more permanent stay and slowed down the entire process for probably months.
This whole thing was brilliant. And I know it shocked people, but it's brilliant. Keep going.
Yeah. So she actually kept them from doing that by taking her power into her own hands as the administrative justice over the First Circuit and issuing this temporary stay and telling the First Circuit to hurry up on the merits. That solidifies, and the First Circuit's probably going to enforce SNAP to be paid. And then she'll have that in her back pocket when it goes to the full Supreme Court. It'll be harder to overturn. Not that they won't do it. I'm not saying they won't do it, but this was her best and last hope to get these SNAP funds paid quicker than her 6 conservative a-hole associates probably want. So, by the way, Trump is really mad that the USDA, that some states have actually paid out their SNAP benefits because the USDA sent out an email saying, pay your stuff. And some did. And now Donald Trump actually wants to go and take the food out of their mouths. They're like, you'll be penalized if you pay those SNAP benefits, you rogue states trying to feed people with, it's so bonkers how hard he is fighting to starve people.
Which I don't love that that's happening, but in a sense, it's really shedding the light of the cruelty of this administration and specifically him. So I think he's losing a lot of his base with this because there's a large amount of his base. Absolutely. Yeah. Allison, also Judge Immergut in Oregon, who happens to be a Trump appointee, issues a permanent injunction against Kegseth deploying any National Guard troops to Oregon. She said there's no rebellion or danger of a rebellion. That's that bullshit old video that Steve Miller used to tell Trump that the city was under siege. Now, I'm sure Trump's going to appeal this, of course, if he hasn't by the time this episode actually airs. So,
yeah, let me check. Yes, he has filed an appeal.
Oh boy, that was quick.
Boy, As this episode was written and read, it was already appealed, not even before it
Mind-blowing.
aired. Also, Judge Ellis in Chicago issued a preliminary injunction against the use of force by federal agents in Chicago. She's requiring a bunch of stuff. She's requiring everybody to wear body-worn cameras. She says feds can't deploy tear gas without multiple verbal warnings. They can't ask crowds or journalists to disperse unless someone is in imminent danger. They have to give multiple verbal warnings to disperse crowds and give people time to comply. You can't just be like, move, and then tackle them. They have to display their badge numbers in 2 conspicuous places on their uniforms at all times. She accused Greg Bovino of lying, and he admitted that he did. He said he deployed tear gas after someone threw a rock at him, but when video proved him wrong, he admitted that no one actually threw a rock at him.
Oh, wow.
So I hope we see more cases like this in the future, and I'm glad Judge Ellis has issued this preliminary injunction. That's probably already been appealed to. Yep. Yep. That's been appealed also.
Oh my gosh. All right. This is from the Chicago Times. And if you haven't gotten your tickets for my November 14th show this Friday, we still have 18 left for the 9 p.m. show. So go to DanielGoldberg.com and get them. But news from
18,
Chicago, 18.
Hurry.
It's a good lucky number in the Jewish tradition.
Oh.
Yep. This is from the Chicago Times. A federal magistrate judge is arranging a visit to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in West Suburban Broadview. That has become a controversial hub for the Trump administration's aggressive deportation campaign in the Chicago area. U.S. Magistrate Judge Laura McNally authorized the visit Friday as part of a lawsuit over conditions inside the facility, which long served as a processing center. But since the start of the Fed's so-called Operation Midway Blitz in September, this has been going on since September, people have been held there for days at a time, which is not allowed. The visit has been tentatively planned for Thursday morning, and details are going to be sorted out early in the week.
Yeah, and that's what our guest from last week here on the show, candidate for Illinois' 9th, Kat Abugazela, was protesting the conditions at the Broadview ICE facility when she was thrown to the ground.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I'm glad they're checking it out because conditions are abhorrent in that facility. Next up from Reuters, a federal judge ruled Friday that Trump administration violated the free speech rights of furloughed U.S. Department of Education employees. Remember when they altered their out-of-office email messages?
Yes.
To blame Democrat senators for the ongoing government shutdown? Yeah, they went in after they didn't have access to their computers anymore and changed their out-of-office email messages to blame Democrats.
Wow.
Yeah. U.S. District Judge Chris Cooper in D.C. said the nonpartisanship is the foundation of government service, and commandeering Education Department employees' email accounts to broadcast a partisan message erodes it. Quote, political officials are free to blame whomever they wish for the shutdown, but they cannot use rank-and-file civil servants as their unwilling spokespeople. The First Amendment stands in their way. Just a really great ruling there. And he also said, I know this only applies to the Department of Education, but if it's super easy for you to put all those emails back and stop changing them, I'm going to turn this into an order that you can't do it for any furloughed employee's email account.
Fantastic.
Yep.
All right. We're going to Bloomberg. This is from Bloomberg. Todd Blanche, he's the second in command at the Justice Department, described a war against the federal judiciary and called on young conservative lawyers in the audience to join the fight against so-called activist judges. That's terrifying. He says, it's a war, man. That's what Blanche said. The Deputy Attorney General told judges and lawyers Friday at a Federalist Society event, which is responsible for so much fucking damage in this country. That was an event in Washington before describing instances where the government has ping-ponged between lower and appellate courts. He says it's happening over and over again. And he put out a call to young lawyers who are, and I quote, hungry and thirsty to join the Justice Department and the fight.
Gross.
And just a word to the lawyers out there, when all this is said and done, the president might be immune to prosecution. You won't be.
You are not. Yeah, you aren't. And if you think he cares enough about you to pardon you,
You are.
probably not.
Yeah.
Also from the Associated Press, John Thune, Senate Majority Leader, swatted down a Democratic offer to reopen the government to extend expiring healthcare subsidies for a year, calling it a non-starter as the partisan impasse over the shutdown continued into its 38th day. Now, if you didn't think or you were kind of on the fence about who was to blame for the government shutdown, it is now squarely on the Republicans.
Absolutely.
Because this was a pretty shrewd move. I'm not sure if Schumer came up with it, but because he's the majority leader, he offered it and said, hey, clean CR and extend the ACA subsidies for a year. We'll fight it out again during the midterm elections. And they said no.
Unbelievable.
So they bluffed and they took the bait. They took the bait. Republicans have so far refused to negotiate on demands to extend healthcare subsidies. It was a much narrower version of a broader proposal Democrats laid out a month ago to make health tax credits permanent and reverse Medicaid cuts that Republicans enacted in the big ugly bill. So this was just about the ACA. Dana, 79% of Americans want those credits extended. 59% of Republicans want those credits extended. And the Republicans are refusing to extend it. Now, I hear there's a deal on the table now to fund the government, but not the ACA, not extend ACA credits, because the Republicans are promising Chuck Schumer that they'll have a separate vote on the ACA.
Okay. And we're supposed to just believe that?
No, and we shouldn't, because this is the same fucking thing that happened in March with the continuing resolution. Remember, they defunded $1.1 billion from DC?
Yeah.
And the Senate says, we'll have a separate bill on that. We'll fund it. We promise. And so 10 or 7 Democrats, I think, were willing to vote for cloture to pass that CR and fund this fucking authoritarian regime. And the Senate did have a vote on funding DC, but the House didn't. And the Senate can't make the House do anything. So a promise on an ACA vote, I mean, I guess what they're hoping is that it fails.
Yeah.
And pisses people off more when all their healthcare costs go up. But like, that's going to make people's healthcare costs go up. They're going to go up anyway on January 1st, regardless. If there's not anything done, they keep in mind, that's the default. They go up January 1st, unless we stop it from happening. And we can't do that without the Republicans.
Yeah. And I'm not putting beans on this, but I talked to a friend of mine who's pretty high up in the financial world. And, they get to hear all the talk because of the stock market and stuff like that. She says that whether this is true or not, so take it with a grain of beans, that the air traffic controllers are really threatening to strike en masse. And because of that, it sounds like there may be a deal on the table to open the government on that front as well, Monday or Tuesday. So let's hope that actually happens.
Yeah, but Sean Duffy is now promising that he'll send people from the military.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. I didn't hear that.
To be the air traffic controllers.
Jesus Christ.
So.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, take it with a grain of salt and apparently a shot of tequila. This last one is from the Post or yes, 5. Please. Yeah, and if you don't drink, some juice and cookies. The top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, that's Rep. Robert Garcia, he's requested that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the King Charles III's younger brother, that is, you know who it is. It's Prince Andrew.
The Andrew formerly known as Prince.
Oh, it's right? So good. The Andrew formerly known as Prince. He appeared before Congress for a transcribed interview about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, he hasn't appeared yet. They want him to.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, got it.
Yeah. The request comes amid the House Oversight Committee's ongoing bipartisan investigation into Epstein. Andrew's name appears in a number of documents the committee has subpoenaed and subsequently released publicly, including flight logs. He was accused by one Epstein's victim of assault and was recently relieved of his titles, including Prince. And that was Virginia Giuffre. And it's in her memoir. After she has passed, she took her life. I believe it was in April. And because of that book and because of all of her fight, I can't say testimony, but her fight coming forward, at least one man, and not in the way that he should be, but at least one man is being held responsible at this point.
Yeah, he should be under the prison, not just
100%.
Kicked out of his one peppercorn a year.
Yeah, no, I think he should be behind bars. Every single person involved.
I think it was you that told me it was one peppercorn a year.
One peppercorn.
Let's learn something new that day. All right, everybody, we have more news to get to, but we have to take a quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back with the hot notes.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, when temperatures drop, I go into full nesting mode. More reading, more journaling, and yes, more time in my bedroom. It's my sanctum, my sanctorum. And my Helix has been with me for years. It's still the anchor of that routine. Before Helix, I woke up sweaty and stiff and tired. I dealt with night sweats and a sore lower back, but the switch to Helix changed everything. I sleep cooler, my back feels supported, and I wake up actually feeling rested. The upcoming holiday season is going to be busy, and it will also be peak cold and flu season. So sleep is your first line of defense. So if you're prepping for holiday hosting or just trying to keep your energy up, this is the moment to invest in your sleep. And while you're shopping for everyone else, remember to gift yourself a good night's sleep with a brand new Helix mattress. Helix Sleep has a fantastic quiz that matches you to a mattress based on how you sleep. So the choice is simple and personal. Plus, Helix is the most awarded mattress brand, tested and reviewed by experts at places like Forbes and Wired. Delivery is free in the United States. The setup is easy. And the Happy with Helix guarantee makes returns and exchanges seamless. You also get a 120-night sleep trial at home and a limited lifetime warranty. So there's no risk. I've had my Helix for years, as I've said. It remains a clear upgrade over my old mattress. Better support, cooler nights, consistent restorative sleep. That has been my experience, and I will never own a different mattress again. So go to helixsleep.com/dailybeans for 27% off site-wide. This is exclusive for listeners of the Daily Beans. That's helixsleep.com/dailybeans for 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name in the post-purchase survey so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/dailybeans. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the Hot Notes. Hot Notes. All right, first up from NBC, President Trump pardoned former Tennessee House Speaker Glenn Quesada and his former chief of staff, Cade Cothran, who were convicted on federal corruption charges. Quesada, a Republican, in case I needed to tell you that, was sentenced in September to 36 months in prison after being convicted on 17 felony charges, including wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Cothran, the aide, received a shorter sentence. Quesada confirmed the pardon on Thursday in a statement to NBC affiliate WSMV in Nashville, saying, "Yes, the president called me today and granted me a full pardon. I'm grateful of his trust and full confidence in my innocence through this whole ordeal." In a statement, a White House official confirmed Trump's decision to pardon Quesada and Cothran and blamed the Biden administration.
What?
He blamed the Biden administration for over-prosecuting these two guys. Quote, "The Biden Department of Justice significantly over-prosecuted these individuals for a minor issue involving constituent mailers, which were billed at competitive prices, never received a complaint from any legislators, and resulted in a net profit loss of less than $5,000. Biden DOJ responded with an armed raid, a perp walk, and suggested sentences exceeding 10 years, penalties normally reserved for multi-million-dollar fraudsters like Donald Trump." No, he didn't say that Donald Trump. That's what the official told NBC News. Except, Dana, the investigation began during Trump's first term.
Yep.
The raids of their homes were conducted in January 2021 when Trump was still in office. The judge who oversaw the case that handed down the sentence, that was a Trump-appointed judge. So the charges against Quesada and Cothran centered on a consulting firm they founded with another lawmaker called Phoenix Solutions. And prosecutors alleged the former House Speaker and his aide used the company to illegally funnel money to themselves for campaign and taxpayer-funded work, including by organizing a $52,000 mailer program for Tennessee lawmakers. Prosecutors said they used a false name, Matt Phoenix, to run the company. Yeah. I'm Matt Phoenix from Phoenix Solutions. Several years before Quesada was charged, he served as House Speaker in Tennessee, but resigned in 2019 after a no-confidence vote by his fellow lawmakers. That vote came in the wake of a different scandal involving these two guys, Quesada and Cothran, where the two were accused of exchanging sexually explicit text messages about women.
Oh, boy.
Quesada apologized for the text messages and said they were not the person I am, but it is the person you are. So a felony fraudster and a sex pest, just like Donald Trump. No wonder Trump pardoned him.
My God. The worst of people. Seriously, the worst of people. This one's from the Times. Tesla shareholders. This is mind-blowing. Fucking mind-blowing. Thursday, they approved a plan that could make Elon Musk the world's first trillion with a T, 2 days after, a trillionaire, 2 days after New Yorkers elected a tax-rich candidate on their next mayor. That's written interestedly. I think there's many tax-rich candidates. All right. This was discrete moments offered strikingly different lessons about America, who deserves how much of its wealth. At Tesla, which is now in Austin, Texas, shareholders have largely bought into a winner-takes-all version of the capitalism, agreeing by a wide margin to give Musk shares worth almost $1 trillion if the company under his management achieves ambitious financial and operational goals over the next decade. Well, not if he keeps opening his fucking mouth. Oh, my God. But halfway across the country in the home to Wall Street, Zohran Mamdani's victory served as a reminder of the frustrations many Americans have with an economic system that has left them struggling to afford basic things like food, housing, childcare. Tesla's directors and some investors, including the board that oversees Florida's public pension fund, hailed the $1 trillion pay plan as a way to motivate Mr. Musk, who is already the world's wealthiest person, to build a futuristic products like cars that can drive themselves. Isn't that a Waymo?
They keep crashing and catching on fire.
I also, those, I feel like they're all over San Francisco, those Waymos that are in LA now, and they're trying to get them in New York, which is ridiculous because people cross the street without any rhyme or reason, and then they're going to cause an accident because the car is going to stop.
Yeah, we do already have self-driving cars, yes.
Right. Pope Leo XIV weighed in on this, by the way, saying in an interview with Crux, a Catholic news website, that Mr. Musk's compensation was a symptom of the growing disparity between working people and the wealthy. The median Tesla worker earns about $57,000 a year, and that was in 2024, according to a company securities filing. Musk addressed some of these concerns obliquely, saying that the company's humanoid robot, Optimus, was the singular solution for addressing poverty. The robot remains under development. I'm sure they have concepts of a robot. They have concepts of a plan. $1 trillion. The tone deafness. I feel like, and I also feel like this is some sort of a payoff. Like, I don't trust any of this before the midterms.
I don't think there should be a billionaire, let alone a trillionaire.
Oh, no kidding.
Jesus. Oh my God. All right. Next up from The Guardian. I just can't. Like I need to take a shower now, like a Gattaca shower.
Yeah, it's gross.
Okay. From The Guardian, Republicans in California on Wednesday, womp womp, filed a federal lawsuit challenging Prop 50, basically.
Yeah.
The suit, filed by David Tangipa, a Republican assembly member, 18 California voters, and the state Republican Party in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, argues that the new maps are unconstitutional because they were drawn to increase the voting power of a particular racial group. It asks the court to block the new maps from taking effect, at least temporarily. The measure, Prop 50, was approved by voters Tuesday in a landslide, 65-35. And we had, by the way, more people turned out to vote for Prop 50 than turned out in the 2022 midterms.
Wow.
We had over 11 million. I think maybe we're even coming up on 12 million.
It was kind of amazing. People were in line, and even after they called it, they stayed in line to vote. People are fired up. They're pissed.
Yeah. Now, this plan, as we know, temporarily gives the power to draw congressional districts to the California legislature, allowing it to adopt maps that will help Democrats pick up 5 seats in the U.S. House. Mike Colombo, a lawyer for the plaintiffs, said that California Democrats drew the maps to increase the power of Latino voters. No. Okay, so we can't come after you for packing and cracking black districts and diluting black votes, but you want to come after us for giving. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Quote, there's no majority race in California more than Hispanics. That's what Colombo said at a press conference. Hispanics have had fantastic success in electing candidates of their choice. Accordingly, California cannot meet this exception. Democrats have expressed confidence that the maps would withstand any legal challenge. Quote, we haven't reviewed the lawsuit, but it's from the California Republican Party and Harmeet Dillon's law firm. It'll fail. That's what Newsom's office said on Twitter. We haven't looked at it, but it's going to fail. And it retweeted a video of the moment when the mics fell into the podium at the start of the Republicans' press conference. And then it says, good luck, losers.
I love the comms team. I love his comms team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. Pretty great.
It is. I got a little good news for you all. This is what we were talking about when people get out and vote. This is from Aurora, Colorado. Democrats in Colorado hailed the flipping of Aurora's council as progressives were set to take majority control from conservatives following Tuesday's election in a city that U.S. President Donald Trump said during the 2024 election campaign had been, and I quote, invaded and conquered by illegal immigrants from Venezuela drug gangs.
Remember that? That? When he was like, Tren de Aragua's taken over Aurora, Colorado?
We were like, why Aurora? Yeah. And this is a quote. For years, MAGA Republicans treated Aurora like a political prop and were more focused on stoking division and chasing headlines than serving the people who elected them. That was a post on Twitter from Colorado Democrats. The post added that voters had chosen Democrats, and I quote, who will put families first, strengthen schools, keep neighborhoods safe, and make life more affordable. According to the unofficial results from Tuesday's election, progressive candidates won all 5 open council seats in Aurora. All 5. Yep. In the at-large race for 2 seats, progressives Rob Andrews and Allie Jackson garnered significantly more votes than the conservative candidates, including incumbent Danielle Jurinsky, whose false claims of complete gang takeover of the city drew the attention of Trump, like we just said in the conservative outlets last year. Jurinsky conceded, by the way, on Wednesday night. That's what I did like to see. All of these people that got their ass handed to them, including Cuomo, conceded that night. Mm-hmm. The sweep will shift the makeup of Aurora's elected council from 7-3 conservative majority to 6-4 progressive majority. Woo-hoo. Yeah. Conservatives were weighing why they lost out and pointed to the national picture as a reason. He said, I think the Republicans weren't fired up enough for this election, and the Democrats were. This is from Aurora's conservative mayor, Mike Kaufman. That's what he told Colorado Politics. I don't think it has to do with fired up. I think that conservatives, everything's falling apart. He said, what happens at the national level tends to impact what happens at the local level. Well, yeah. He also added, people hate it when one party has
Dana.
all the... I know.
Dana, you're like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm delirious, people.
So
That's me going, duh. And this is also a ridiculously duh statement. He said people hate it when one party has all the leverage and power, and they tend to push back the other way. No, we hate it when one party has all the power and leverage and abuses it. Yeah. Colorado Democrats wrote on Twitter, Aurora just flipped blue. For years, MAGA Republicans treated Aurora like a political prop and were more focused on stoking division and chasing headlines than serving the people who elected them. Voters chose steady, competent leadership instead. Democrats who will put families first, strengthen schools, keep neighborhoods safe, and make life more affordable. It was a beautiful election. I mean, obviously there were big headlines, the governorships, the mayoral race, but these councils, school boards, all the way down, up and down the ballot. Man, we showed up and we showed out.
Yeah, I would really like to know of the 52,000, how many Democrats won of the 52,000 elections.
I would love to
where
know
they
that.
were contested.
There's got to be numbers, available to us.
That would be really, really interesting. And if you're from Aurora or you're in Aurora, congratulations, and to everybody in Colorado, and write to us. Send us good news. Talk about that race. Talk about how you're feeling about it, that you were able to flip that city council, especially after all of that national attention from Trump with all the bullshit about the violent gang takeovers or whatever. You can write into us for the good news. That's at dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. And we're going to get to the good news. But first, I'm going to talk to Sarah Weinman about her new book, Without Consent. So stick around. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, it's Allison. We all know how it feels to be running on empty. We do it all the time. We burn the candle at both ends, whether it's stress, soreness, anxiety, the chaos of daily life. But CBD from CBDistillery can bring relief, helping you reset and feel more like yourself again. And it worked for me. I want to thank them for sponsoring this episode and for this discount for you. You get 25% off your entire purchase at CBDistillery.com and use promo code DailyBeans. I first tried CB Distillery while hunting for something to speed up post-workout muscle recovery, and the Relief Stick became an instant favorite. The cooling sensation hits fast and it lasts. I swipe it over sore shoulders, tight calves, and it helps me bounce back so I can stay active instead of feeling beat down the next day. One of the things I appreciate is that CB Distillery is not a one-trick pony. Their lineup is designed to work with your body to ease stress, boost focus, and support recovery, so you can pick what you need for the day that you're having. Everything I have used from CB Distillery, it feels clean and thoughtfully made. The formulas use premium ingredients without fillers or unnecessary additives, which I love, and it makes it easy to trust what I'm putting in and on my body. And I'm not the only one who sees the benefit. More than 2 million people have made the switch to CB Distillery, And I can understand why. From personal experience, the products do exactly what they promise. If you want simple, effective ways to feel better, whether that means recovering after a workout, dialing down stress, or sharpening focus, CBDistillery delivers. I use it all the time. So if you're ready for better sleep, less stress, and feeling good in your own skin again, try CBD from CBDistillery. And right now, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Just visit CBDistillery.com and use promo code DailyBeans. That's CBDistillery.com, promo code DailyBeans. Once again, CBDistillery.com. You'll be glad you did. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I am really excited today to be joined by an author who writes monthly crime and mystery columns for the New York Times Book Review. She's the author of 3 books now: Scoundrel, which was named the best book of 2022 by Time, Esquire, CBC, NPR. She wrote The Real Lolita, and now she has a new book coming out tomorrow called Without Consent. Please welcome Sarah Weinman. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, it's good to be here. Thanks so much.
It's really great to have you. I just want to quickly give everybody a bit of a content warning for SA, sexual assault, before we dig into this conversation. You've been doing true crime for a long time, and this is in that genre, but it's a little bit different. Explain how Without Consent sort of fits in, but also sort of pops out of that genre as well.
Without Consent fits in within true crime because it is about a crime, which is the rape of one's spouse. And it did lead to a rape trial that was very extensively covered in December 1978. But at that time, raping one's spouse, raping your wife, was only considered to be a crime in 4 states. If you go back to 1974, it wasn't a crime anywhere in the United States or in Canada, and frankly, in most of the world. And that dated back to common law and to this idea that once a woman got married, she was essentially her husband's property forever, and that he had perpetual consent and the right to her body all the time. So when this case happened involving a married couple that was still living together, their names were Greta Rideout and John Rideout. She was 23 and he was 21. They had a 2.5-year-old daughter, and she alleged that on the afternoon of October 10th, 1978, that he raped her. And eventually there were charges. 2 months later, there was a trial. No one had ever seen anything like this, and it became a huge talking point all across the country and really introduced the idea that, yes, marital rape is a crime.
And I think what's so groundbreaking about this case is when it happened. Because like you said, at the time, there were only 4 states that saw marital rape as a crime. And if you go back just a couple of years to 74, nobody had considered it a crime because of common law, and that people saw women or wives as their husband's property. But can you kind of paint a picture of what 1978 was like for women? I think that, I was very young at the time, so it really didn't register with me as a 4-year-old, having been born in 1974. But how shocking it must have been to accuse your husband of spousal rape in 1978. Can you kind of paint that picture a little bit for us?
It was hugely shocking. I think looking at it from the vantage point of 2025, we don't realize that this really was not ancient history, that so many of the things that women may or may not take for granted, unfortunately, some of those things have been rolled back. But within a few years of when this trial took place, Roe v. Wade had been ruled on in early 1973. There was the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which finally allowed women to get credit cards and mortgages of their own. There was this sense that second wave feminism was really doing groundbreaking work to make sure that women had equality. The ERA, for Equal Rights Amendments, that was trying to become a real thing after so many decades. And by 1978, it looked like a lot of that was still going to hold. And so when this trial took place, it really was a way for women to think about their marriages in ways they might not have before, that things they would have just accepted as, well, that's just the way it is. Well, no, it wasn't the way it is. And someone like Greta Rideout actually put forward this case and eventually testified on her behalf to tell the world what she alleged had happened to her.
Yeah. And I think it's, it's fascinating that how I imagine once this, trial started, it was all over the news, how women's perception of consent must have changed as well. Something that perhaps wasn't on the forefront of their minds when they're talking about equal pay and equal hiring and being able to have a credit card and being able to have get a mortgage and things like that, to really look deep within and think about the bodily autonomy that kind of came with Roe just a minute ago. And here we are talking about the bodily autonomy of consent, regardless of who it is, including your own husband, who you might have thought you have given, like you said, perpetual consent to over your body. It's just fascinating to me at the time. We think about it in a much different framing now here in 2025.
Absolutely. And another thing to point out, too, is that this was all happening at a time when there were broad reforms of rape laws all across the country. That had also started around the early to mid 1970s. Things like there had never been rape shields, like this idea that women's sexual history could just be blithely introduced into a court case. For Greta, unfortunately, her sexual history was brought into the case because a judge had ruled on it in a pretrial hearing. But in part because of cases like hers, there were additional laws to make sure that a woman's sexual history was not automatically introduced because that could be considered to be prejudicial.
Mm. And all of these these underpinnings of gender and power and sexuality and autonomy that I was referencing are still very relevant today, even though we are seeing it in a different light.
They are so relevant. I mean, all you have to look at is what happened with Dobbs, which was just in 2022. Here was a constitutional right to abortion, which we had for almost 50 years, that was taken away. And now you have the right wing really agitating to roll back even more. I mean, talking about repealing the 19th Amendment, getting rid of no-fault divorce, which, by the way, had only become a thing starting in California in 1969, and that eventually became a nationwide state-by-state campaign of its own. And so when I started working on this book, I mean, I had been thinking about it since I first read about the case in 2017, but I really started working on it in 2022. And Dobbs really kind of made this all coalesce for me, that if such a important constitutional right could just be rolled back, what else could be under threat? And it seemed like the idea of spousal rape that had become a crime in every state, finally by 1993, albeit with a lot of exceptions and loopholes, unfortunately. But at least in every state, there is some statute that says that, yes, you cannot rape your spouse. But that's where we are in 2025. Is that going to be the case in 2026 and onward? It's frightening to think that a right like that could be taken away, but everything seems to be up for grabs right now.
Right. When we thought for sure we would always have Roe, and here we are without it.
Right.
And I think it's fascinating you mentioned the state by state sort of cascade of laws that went on no fault divorce when California started it. And then you dive pretty deeply into this book, as you just mentioned, about the ensuing state by state fight, because John Rideout was acquitted at this trial, but that didn't stop a state by state battle to get all 50 states to have these laws on the books. But like you said, it took a really long time.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, if the outrage over this acquittal and the fact that it did become this huge media spectacle in tandem really galvanized activists. And one that I talk about a lot in the book is named Laura X. And she really did a lot of work in conjunction with many activists in states all across the country to criminalize spousal rape. But it's, so it's hard to know if it would have happened in the same way if John Rideout had been convicted. My hope is obviously yes. And I base that on the fact that there were convictions thereafter, that there would have been other cases brought in Oregon or elsewhere. I also know that in Salem, Massachusetts, as opposed to Salem, Oregon, just a few months after John Rideout was acquitted, another man, James Chrétien, was convicted of raping his wife. And so that became one of the first major convictions. And there would be other ones. But as I talk about in the book, there would also be acquittals that also helped galvanize the conversation even further. That's often how it is with these things, that, you get victories and then you get rollbacks, but it's the cumulative effect and the fact that people are talking about it and wanting to do stuff and organize for it and be activists. That's what gets stuff done.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're living in it right now.
Absolutely.
And we saw the pushback happen just this past Tuesday on election day. I think it's a shame that really bad things have to happen to galvanize movements, but it's commonly and historically often true. So you mentioned that you spoke to Laura X and other activists, but you did so much meticulous research for this book. You also interviewed Rideout and other people who were subsequently victimized by John Rideout.
Yeah, I mean, his arc definitely ended in a place where one could argue that some justice was done. It's not really a spoiler to say that eventually he would be convicted of unrelated sexual assaults. And I did talk to the women who were victimized by him. And I think it was really important for their stories to be told as well, because as I say in the book, one of the galvanizing lines that activists used related to a congressman named Bob Wilson in California, who, when the fight to criminalize spousal rape happened in California in 1979, he made a quip. He quipped, "If you can't rape your wife, who can you rape?" And to me, working on this book really cemented the idea, well, if you can rape your wife, who else can you rape? Yeah. And it's not just John Rideout. It's anyone who has this idea that they can sexually assault anybody with impunity, that they don't even believe in the concept of raping your intimate partner. And I think it's really important to say, no, these are crimes, and we have to recognize them as such. And people who perpetuate crimes against their intimate partners and their spouses and their wives may actually recidivate and keep doing this with other people.
Yeah, that's such important context. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm so glad that, you dove into the subsequent sexual assaults of this person. It shows he should have been convicted in the first place. And why do you think he wasn't? Do you just think people weren't ready to say that you couldn't, like you could possibly rape your spouse? Was it just such a new concept, or why do you think?
I did happen to speak to one of the jurors who is still around today. Obviously, because this happened at the end of 1978, many of those who served on the Oregon versus Rideout jury are no longer alive or were otherwise unreachable. But this juror, she said that this was the best jury she ever served on. Everybody took their role very, very seriously. They just did not find Greta's testimony to be credible enough to get past the reasonable doubt. Now, if this was 2025 and a similar case played out, would John Rideout have been found guilty? I suspect the answer is yes. And the reason is that when I attended the 2022 trial, where he was retried on one of the counts of sexual assault, and his victim testified, and the prosecutor was very careful about how to frame it, that he told the jury, look, she's taken a lot of medication. She has memory gaps. There are things that she won't remember, but what she remembers very vividly and has been very consistent. And at least based on my reading of Greta's testimony, that was also the case too. It's just that because her sexual history had been introduced, the fact that she'd had abortions, these were judged knowingly or otherwise in ways that they might not be judged now. So context is key. And perhaps if we had a do-over of that original case, it would have played out far differently.
But then I also wonder how the subsequent state-by-state fights would have played out, if they would have played out as quickly, if there would have been a huge movement kicked off to do this without the acquittal. It's all interesting to think about, but that context is key. And, all of this research that you did, very meticulous research to write this book, was there anything that really surprised you that you weren't expecting to see?
I feel like the chapters that I wrote in the middle, particularly about the cases that happened in the interim, I was really surprised by a case in South Carolina involving a woman named Trish Crawford, because just the fact that what was done to her, and it was on video, it seemed so open and shut. And yet the jury delivered a verdict very similar to what happened with Greta Rideout, where they didn't believe her. They thought it was role play. And then her husband, well, eventual ex-husband at the time, he met another woman, and it was a pretty textbook case of intimate partner violence. And when she was trying to break free of him, he killed her, and he's in prison for that. Oh, and so just reading, I think just trying to reckon with all of the collective horrors. And a lot of people think that acquaintance and certainly rape by a spouse or an intimate partner, that somehow it's, quote, lesser than stranger rape. And it's not, because if you're raped by your partner or your husband, this is someone who you are waking up to the next morning. This is someone you might be raising kids with. It is worse because it never ends.
I think it's worse. And it's a huge betrayal. You know, my sexual assault was in the military, and the person who did that to me was supposed to take a bullet for me.
Yeah.
And it's considered like family. It's almost familial. And same with a spouse. Just absolutely huge betrayal. But anyway, fascinating book. It comes out tomorrow. Everybody, I urge you, you know how I like to do it. I like to go to my small independent bookstores. I like to order 10 or 20 copies. I like to put them out in my free little libraries around my neighborhood and give them as gifts for holiday. But it's out tomorrow, and I really recommend everybody picks it up. The amount of research you did for this book is just incredible. And tell everybody some of the other things where they can find more of your work.
Well, I do have a website, which is sarahweinman.com. I'm also on Instagram as Sarah Weinman, and I'm on Blue Sky at sarahweinman.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah Weinman. Everybody pick up the book Without Consent and stick around. We'll be right back with the good news. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Who likes good news, everyone? Then good news, everyone.
Good news. And if you have any good news at all, or if you have some good trouble you want to share with us, maybe you have a shout out to a nonprofit that you're working with right now, perhaps a Feeding Families nonprofit you want to share and shine a light on. You can send that to us, maybe a small business in your area that's doing great things to feed people. We love to hear those stories. We also love shout outs to government programs that have helped you or a loved one. If you've had SNAP in your life and it's helped you, we would love to hear about that, because we want to send those stories to our politicians, because it's about the storytelling. It's about how this impacts people personally. Definitely. So send that to us. Any little good thing that's happened to you, whether it's big or small, whether it happened yesterday or 20 years ago. Maybe you have a favorite joke you want to send us. Send it to us. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. And all you got to do to get your submission read on the air is pay your pod pet tariff, which means attach a photo of your pet. Maybe we'll try to guess the breeds in your shelter pup if you want us to. If you don't have a pet, send an adoptable pet in your area. If you don't have that, just grab a random photo off the internet. It can be an animal or whatever. It really doesn't matter. I like capybaras and red pandas and frogs. Dana likes otters and black and white pandas. You can send it all to us.
So many things. They just make me so happy.
Any baby animal really will do. Speaking of babies, you have baby pictures, family pictures, maybe a photo of a garden or what you're growing, what you're knitting, what you're crocheting, what you're painting, writing, any music, whatever you're trying to do to pass the time and feed your soul. We would really love to share in that with you and microdose that hope and happiness. Send it to us, dailybeanspod.com, and click on contact. First up is your good trouble. This comes from Andy M. Greetings, dear leguminauts. I love that. It's like astronauts, but with beans. As if living in the ruby red hellscape of Ohio isn't challenging enough, the city of Sharonville, I hope I'm saying that right, has informed our local urban farm that due to zoning regulations, we have to shut down the farm store. And we're given less than 48 hours to do so. We're appealing this decision because Cincy Urban Farm is too important to our community to lose. With thousands of small farms closing nationwide, it's more important than ever to support urban farms that bring fresh local food into our cities. Cincy Urban Farm is a trusted local food source for residents seeking fresh, healthy, chemical-free produce, a community landmark that teaches the value of sustainable urban agriculture, a zero-impact self-serve shop with no traffic or noise complaints. And now, after 4 successful years of operation, the city of Sharonville is ordering the farm store to shut down, claiming it violates residential zoning restrictions, even though Ohio law, ORC 519.21 and 3717.22, protect the right to sell farm products directly from the farm. Cincy Urban Farm isn't a commercial business, it's a farm-based food access point that strengthens food security. It has operated peacefully and responsibly for 4 years with full community support. Closing it would set a dangerous precedent for other small farmers and local food producers across Ohio. An appeal hearing is scheduled at Sharonville City Hall this Wednesday, November 12th, 6:30 p.m. local time. I'll be there with the attached sign. For more info, please visit cincyurbanfarm.com and pass it on. So anybody in that area in Sharonville, maybe you should head out to this appeal hearing.
Definitely.
Look at that. Support our urban farm, sustainable, affordable, local produce for everyone. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Andy.
All right, we've got Darcy, pronouns she and her. Greetings to the ladies of the Leguminati, the greatest of the garbanzos. Thank you very much. Small pronunciation correction for AG. The town in Maine that CBP officer drove to is pronounced callous, rather like his attitude towards shooting an innocent citizen and bragging about it. I went to high school there, graduating a year before the wonderful poet that we lost earlier this year, Andrea Gibson. They were one of the most extraordinary poet laureates in the world.
I should just watch them for hours.
Oh my God. And just a little note, everyone, if you have not seen the documentary about Andrea Gibson called See Me in the Good Light, Come See Me in the Good Light, it is extraordinary. I believe it's available, and I'm not sure. It may be Apple. We can find it. It will break you wide open. Make sure you have tissues by you, but it is one of the most extraordinary documentaries I've ever seen about someone's life. They were one in a gazillion. One in a gazillion. Podpet Tariff is a pic of the Mystery Gang. Oh my God, this is great. For Halloween, featuring Pepper as Scooby-Doo. I'm Daphne, my husband's Fred, and our partners are Shaggy and Velma, and this is just fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Look at
Fred
this.
is so cute. Fred is so cute. I don't know who he is.
And there you are. Look at you, Daphne.
Well, obviously, Fred
Darcy.
is Darcy's husband, and you guys are adorable. Both of these couples are lovely, and I love it.
Velma too. And there's, oh my God, Shaggy and Velma. Fucking fantastic. Great group Halloween costume, by the way. I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Yeah.
Please send us all of your Halloween photos. We would love to see what you dressed up as. Or if you saw some great costumes come to your house. This one amazing young man, he must have been 14. He was a tall, very tall kid, a skinny kid. He was in a banana costume. And we had a lot of healthy stuff along with like full-size candy bars. He went for the healthy stuff. And, I said, hi, oh, you're a banana. And he held up his bag and it just said, I am an autistic banana. And then we just put the healthy snacks in his thing, and he said thank you and left. And he was like my favorite person of the night. All right, next up, Anonymous Nurse. I just wanted to message you to let you know how much I enjoy your podcast. I found it in time not to lose my mind in this chaos. I've been talking to my coworkers at the hospital, and 3 of them voted blue for the first time this month. It does work to have a conversation with some people, so please do it. Don't publish my name, as I am a nurse and I could get in trouble at work if they find out. As a nurse, I want to let you know that every day I talk to elderly and disabled people who are already losing benefits from Medicaid with transportation and drug coverage, and it's heartbreaking. I've started sending postcards to Republicans. I've sent 40 so far and mailed them from 4 different post offices, hoping that the postal people along the way will read the messages too.
Oh,
it's
nice.
a small trouble, but I will keep it up. I was so excited to see the blue wave in Virginia this week. Keep up the great work. I've attached a picture of a baby blanket I made my niece and my cockapoo Checkers. Checkers is 14 and keeps me sane and laughing. Okay, that's a beautiful baby blanket. I love the colors.
Gorgeous, yes.
And look at this sweet, sweet little cockapoo. Hi, Checkers.
Love it. Thank you so much. All right, this is from Garrett, pronounced he and him. Good news. Here's my daughter's 10-year-old softball team making sandwiches for the less fortunate.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a yearly tradition for them, but even at 10 years old, they knew this year was very different. My kid came home and was obviously moved by how good we've had it. She told us stories of how they learned about those in need and how this organization gives out food and even will pass out hot cocoa when it gets cold next week here in Ohio. These events happen every week here, so even if it's spreading jelly on dozens of sandwiches, they have volunteer opportunities for people of many ages. I also attached a pic of Troy, the last dog I lived with. Can you guess the breeds? Thanks for your shows and for being part of my daily routine. Look at this picture. First of all, I love that all the faces are smiley faces because I think that's what they look like under these emojis anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the sweetest pup that looks a lot like a
Lab.
golden retriever lab.
A lab.
You think it's just a 100% lab, maybe? Maybe
some Ridgeback.
There's probably
or
Chihuahua. There's a Chihuahua in there.
Right. There's probably something like absolutely ridiculous that makes no sense. Right. Let's see. Lab, husky, and a bit of Greyhound. Okay.
The Greyhound was the one that we would have
That's
probably
the
not.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks just like a lab.
I know. You're like, it's a lab. I don't. The Greyhound just sort of watched.
Yeah, the Greyhound watched.
As soon as it came out of my mouth.
Okay.
Oh, that was a good laugh. Oh, shit.
Oh, I wish we got that on video. I wish.
Oh, man, me too. Oh.
Our faces are bright red. Okay.
Oh, holy hell. Okay.
The Greyhound watched. Now we have a new
Yeah.
fun addition to the What the Mutt game.
Yeah.
What dog watched.
Oh, God.
Okay. All right. And with that, that is our good. No, we have another. We have more.
We're
have
not
more.
done yet. There's more.
From Rajeen M., pronouns she and her. Hello, Beans Queens. We're a group of makers who meet every Tuesday afternoon for 2 hours at a local restaurant in Eugene. Each person brings a project to work on, and we never know who of our 65 members will be there. It's usually about 15 to 20 people. We discuss techniques, shared ideas, and get inspired by each other's projects. People do everything from stitching and knitting to drawing and beadwork, even making voodoo dolls of Donald Trump. Studies show that handwork is good for the soul, as is being in community. We find comfort and support in being with like-minded people during these difficult times. We highly recommend starting a makers group wherever you live, because people who make art tend to be on the same page politically and are usually fun-loving people. And I think makers make the world a better place. I agree, Rajeen. A shout out to the pub at Laurelwood Golf Course for their kind staff and letting us meet at their long tables each week without expecting us to buy food or drink. They said we bring a good vibe, and this is what community looks like. Look at this. Oh, I love this.
This is awesome.
What a chill vibe. Right? You're right. Like I look at that picture and I'm like, I just want to be there.
Yeah. Look at the last picture.
I know. Donald Trump. The Donald Trump voodoo doll is pretty great. And he's got it looks like he's got a binding spell on him. Like, I bind you from harming others, with his stitches over his mouth. See?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all so much for your amazing submissions. Please send in your dog photos and tell us which dog watched. God, that's amazing. And that is why you have to buy one of the 18 remaining tickets to see Dana in Chicago. She's fucking hilarious.
I've got to
love it.
I've gotten some emails, and I just realized I have not returned the email from this person, but I know you're a Beans listener, so if you hear this, I will get back to you. I've got some people driving in from 3.5 hours away for the show in Chicago, so I'm super excited. But
no pressure.
No pressure. You got 18 tickets left. I'd love to see you. I think it's going to be a lot of Beans and Stuff heads. Like, I think you all bought them before my lesbian fans got a hold of so we're just going to have a big meet and greet. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. All right, everybody. We will see our patrons on the video, Beans Talk, and we'll be back on your ears tomorrow. Until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. I've been AG.
I've been DG.
And them's the Beans.
The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill, with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane, with art and web design by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com.
MSW Media.